free trade and public ownership. 1921, the federal election brought about a different type of government for Canada. Mackenzie King was the new Liberal leader, and his government won the election with enough seats to hold a minority government. Mackenzie King now had to work with the opposition members in order to pass legislation. The Progressive Party was successful in using this to their advantage. They were able to get Mackenzie King to pass the Old Age Pension Act in 1927. But their success was short-lived. So this next little bit is really important when you're considering how Canada got to be its own independent country. It was independent before, but it really relied on Britain to guide it. So Prime Minister Borden took a couple of steps after World War I to increase Canada's profile internationally. So it was seen as not just a colony. Mackenzie King pushed for greater independence once he was elected. In 1922, King refused to support Britain in an invasion of Turkey. So normally, when Britain went to war in whatever way, the colonies would automatically join as well. So this was King saying, no, we're not going to be involved in this. And then in 1923, he insisted that Canada be able to sign an international treaty without a British signature of a representative. So be able to sign their own international treaties without being like a part of Britain. So the King-Byng crisis is a defining moment for Canada's independence. In 1925, there was an election, and the Liberals needed the support of the Progressive Party to stay in power. The next year, they lost the support because of a liquor smuggling scandal in the Customs Department. The Conservatives called for a motion of censure, so a vote of strong disapproval. If the motion passed, King would have to resign as PM. King went to the Governor-General, Viscount Byng, and asked for an election. Byng refused King on the grounds that the vote of censure had to be completed first. So he said, we can't have an election before this. King was furious, and Byng eventually called the election anyways, before the censure. King campaigned, appealing to nationalist sentiments, saying it was undemocratic to have an official of British appointment refuse to take advice from the Prime Minister. So he was saying, this guy was appointed by Britain, wasn't elected or anything like that, and so he should take the advice of the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister should really be the person who's in charge. King won the election, and since then no Governor-General has ever went against the wishes of an elected Prime Minister. So the Balfour Report, 1926, at the Imperial Conference, Canada and the other parts of the British Empire requested formal recognition of their autonomy, so formal recognition of their being an independent state, basically. A committee was formed under Lord Balfour, a British politician, to examine that request. So he was going to take a look at it and kind of make a recommendation. The recommendations of the Balfour Report eventually became law in 1931 when the Statute of Westminster was passed by the British government. So this transformed the British Empire, so Britain in charge of everybody, to the British Commonwealth. So there's Britain and then all of Britain's close friends, basically, or children, I don't know. And this was important because it meant that now everybody had equal status, and they were united in a common allegiance to the crown. So now that Canada was a country that had equal status to Britain, it was entitled to make its own laws. There were two restrictions. The British North America Act Canada's constitution, remained in Britain because of the federal and provincial governments not being able to come up with a better, like a way to make changes. And the Judicial Court of Appeal for Canada remained in Britain until 1949.